Welcome back, everybody, to Tactics Ogre Reborn. We are Chamber of the Seal, coming to the end of the game. We've got 2 or 3 more episodes to go.
Is my domain. Bow low before your king, or face his wrath.
Of his king. Now, the fun part about this battle is he summons doppelgangers based on the characters you have, so you have to fight yourself essentially.
Doppelgangers.
I have my characters up here in the front, set up in such a way that some of the easier characters, such as mages and such, are near the front, so I can take them out. The mages are actually, obviously they're squishier than my knights are, but they are super dangerous because turn 1, I start out in this block formation, and if they get lucky and proc concentrate, what is it? It's the one that gives them extra MP. You literally just got it. I don't know why I wasn't paying attention. Anyways, they can do an area of expel on my whole grouped up enemies. Now, whereas the enemies are spread out, that's okay. I don't care about that. That's meditate. That's what it's called. Just a matter of paying attention, I guess. So anyways, so they're all spread out, but all my guys are clumped together in this one starting block, and it's very obnoxious because, you know, whoever you bring in, also they have the exact same stats, they have the exact same abilities, same weapons, etc. And then whatever you have in this first phase of the battle carries over to the second phase of the battle. So you want to have, we'll get there, you want to have ranged units for the second half of this battle. But you're taking kind of a, I wouldn't say a huge risk, but you're taking a risk bringing mages and such in because, you know, they can do the area effect spells that will devastate your party early on. And yeah, it's just it's tough. So this battle is, if you watch anyone else talk about how to defeat the final boss, it is a bit of a puzzle. And you can see I've loaded up on items, healing items, restorative items, you know, reviving items, because when his characters go down, they die, and it's the one nice equalizer, I guess, of this whole thing, is when my characters go down, they are just KO'd for 3 turns or 3 rounds or whatever you want to call it. Whereas when I defeat them, they go down officially. They're out of the battle. Like I said, one of the kindnesses this final battle gives you that would make it, I think, impossible, because you don't have a copy of the boss on your side to help take care of all of the bullshit coming your way. You can go directly after the boss. You don't have to take out any of the doppelgangers if you don't want to. Unfortunately, the boss has a annoying ability in this first phase, which is the one that you can give to your berserker. And there's a couple other characters I think that can get it. Maybe even like a white knight, I think, can get it as well. The holy knights can get it, which is it spreads the damage dealt directly to him to the next 2 closest allies that he has. So, but that's fed through his, I believe that's fed through his statistics. So if you were to walk up to, say, the doppelganger ninja there, okay, and you were to deal direct damage to her, okay, it would do whatever, say 100 damage, 200 damage, okay? But if you do it directly to the boss, he might have higher defense or resistance, so he might only take, you know, in a 200 damage, he might take 150 or, you know, somewhere, you know, reduced damage is what I'm trying to say. And then he divides that damage amongst 2 people. So, you know, they're each taking, you know, what would that be? 75 damage apiece. You know, so, you know, you have to sort of think about that. There is an easy way to cheese this boss, which I'll tell you right off the bat. If you bring in characters like dragons, and they manage to pop the dragon scale ability, what will happen is they'll take 50% damage, and the other 50% will be reflected back to the boss. So if he chooses to do like an AoE, and you've got, like, say, I don't know, let's say 4 or 5 dragons all happen to have, I know this is a luck-based thing, but they all happen to have dragon scales on at the same time, you know, and he's doing, say, 100 damage to each one of them. Well, you're reflecting 100 damage back to him, you know, because it's 50% damage to the dragon and 50% getting flipped back to the originator, you know. Or if you prefer to look at it this way, the dragon scales reduces damage, and then it reflects that same amount of damage back to the boss or the attacker, you know. The risk management's the one I was talking about in terms of, so when he doesn't pop risk management, it's like super excellent time to go in and just plow, you know, just go full bore into to try to take him out. But it's so hard, you know, because he's got so many ways to negate damage, you know, and then you got to worry about the fact that you're fighting yourself. You know, you're fighting your mirror image, so it's like you get a turn, they get a turn. You get a different character gets a turn, they get a turn. You know what I mean? And then as they choose different moves, they stop syncing up. You know what I mean? Like, so if Olivia uses like a finisher, that'll add so many points onto her next turn, okay? And then she'll slot into the order of characters, okay, that have to take their turn. Now my doppelganger can use a different attack that'll either push them closer to getting another turn before Olivia, or will push them past when Olivia's turn would come up. It really depends, you know. And it also depends on what they're proccing as well. You know, it is what it is. Like, you know, so the whole strategy around this is to keep your guys alive, keep them healed. If they get knocked out, you revive them, and you try to find the people.
This is King.
No, sister. This creature is not your father. It wears his shape, but it is a denizen of the abyss.
Versalia.
Lord Father, you recognize me.
My natural born. Versalia, dear. Blood calls out to blood. At last I shall return to my true
He deceives you, sister. Don't listen to him.
So anyways, the only downside, obviously, is that once you're revived, you get your turn. Like, you move to the front of the turn thing, but you have to use that turn to fully heal yourself. Which I've got in terms of things saved up, I've got a ton of stuff saved up for full heals, but basically I'm going all out in this battle. So after, I mean, you know, at the end of the game, I mean, like, who cares? Use your max elixirs, you know, use your most powerful items, because you're not, but because there's a post game to this, I'm gonna, you know, anything I use now I won't get to keep, you know, when we do the neutral playthrough, when we do the lawful playthrough, which that's fine, because hopefully I'll be able to re-earn some of those items as we replay, or not replay, as we play the chaotic and neutral and the lawful paths. So, you know, it's not a super, it's a big deal, but it's not a super big deal, hopefully. But only time will tell on that one. So yeah, so that's the whole strategy, is to slowly whittle down the other doppelgangers, or if the boss doesn't proc the risk management ability, then to try to go full bore into dealing damage to him. Obviously, there's, because of the way I have my character set up, you've got Donalto's doppelganger. He's a healer, so you're gonna have to watch out for that, because he'll do an area effect heal, or he'll do a direct heal to the characters. I don't know if they have the same, like, items that I have, you know, so like I've got, you know, an apple or whatever that'll replenish my full HP and MP. But they don't, I tend to kill them before they are able to use it. So like I'm not whittling them down to like 1 HP, and then their turn comes up, and then they use, you know, and then they use like full heal. There's a couple other things in here I guess I should mention. They're sort of odd picks. I brought my Fusiler in, and I brought in the Beast Hunter, because they have the ability to throw things. They have the toss ability, and that allows you to, if need be, toss healing items at other characters. So say someone's low health, you can use the turn of the Beast Hunter, or the Beast Tamer, or the Fusiler to throw a healing item, so you're not wasting a turn, not wasting that character's turn to healing, you know. So they have slightly different things. You know, I think I gave him two of the apples that do both HP MP max. A couple other you know, healing things. Ideally, I'd like to wipe everybody out here. You know, you want to try to get as many of these people in the T as possible that you can hopefully wipe out. That's one with a backup two. The ninjas, you know, close. By the by, I'm gonna use, if I haven't already said this, I'm gonna use the names of the classes interchangeably. So I'm pretty sure the female version of the ninja is a Konoichi, but I'm still gonna call it by their ninja class. I think the only exception to that is I usually call Valkyries Valkyrie, because I don't have any Ruin Fencers. Some that has to do with the fact that, you know, mythologically speaking, the Valkyrie were all female, and my brain knows that. So, you know, I'm not as familiar with, you know, is it Konoichi, you know, interchangeable for ninja? Is it female only ninja? Is it, you know, I'm not as familiar with that part. So a couple clerical things while I continue this fight. It's been a while since I've released an episode, and I'm going to explain that, but it's not going to be in this, hopefully it's not going to be in this episode or the next episode unless I run out of things to talk about. You know, so once we get back into the swing of the chaotic playthrough, I'll sort of talk about some of that, but I am planning on trying to catch up on episodes. I think initially it's just going to be getting back on my daily release schedule, and then from there I'll try to do a catch up where I'm uploading, say, 2 episodes a day till I'm back to essentially having 1 episode for every day. You know, just, it really doesn't, I know it ultimately doesn't matter. It took a little bit of a break, and I'm coming back now, recording new episodes, and it really shouldn't matter in terms of, do you really need to go back and, you know, give everybody 2 episodes for the, you know, while you were gone? And it's a meh, it's a whatever I want to do thing, you know, obviously. So the plan is to, like I said, get back on the daily schedule, and then once I have enough episodes in reserve, I'll do 2 a day until I've basically made up for the missed days. And then, like I said, we'll go back to one a day. I just have to figure out if I want to do 2 episodes of this, or if I want to do an episode of this and an episode of something else I haven't started yet. I'm not sure, because I've got a couple things that I'm planning on playing next, but I don't know how that's going to work out, and I'll explain in about 2 episodes, because I'm not going to do that in these final episodes. You know, the finale of you know, this initial playthrough, that is. There's a lot of thought at this point going into each one of my moves, because I'm trying to eliminate as many people as quickly as possible, with the priority being on eliminating characters. Okay? So, you know, you can look at this attack right here. That's max damage to the people on the field. And I took a little bit of, what do you want to call it? Friendly fire there on that one. But it's to try to do the most damage to people as I can. However, if, much like the way the computer did it, if I have an opportunity to remove an enemy from the board, I'm going to prioritize that over waiting or you know, dealing an area of effect spell that doesn't kill. Might not be the smart thing long term, but short term, I'm just sort of thinking about the, you know, the domino effect of, well, you left this guy alive with 3 HP or 10 HP or whatever, and then Donalto's able to come in and heal him, or he's able to turn around and hit a different one of my characters and knock them out, and then that means that they lose their turn to healing, and I lose another turn to another character who has to revive them. That's not specifically Donalto, that is. And then, yeah, we'll go from there, I guess. Ooh, fun fact I forgot to mention. I may have said this in a previous episode. Like I said, I took a break from doing this for a bit, maybe about 2-3 weeks. Probably about 2 weeks, actually. But to get to the point of my story here, I did poke around in the what do you call it? The Palace of the Dead a little bit, but I didn't go farther than, I'd say, about 20 or so down. I was planning on saving that for the post game. In my research, because I failed this particular battle multiple times. This is like probably my 5th or 6th attempt at this battle, because I can get through the first half, but the second half would just wreck the shit out of me. Anywho, getting to the point of my long ass story. I didn't go down far enough into the Palace of the Dead to start picking up anything that might be really useful for this battle. I know that there are things down there, depending on how far you go down into the pit, that makes this battle easier. But I have not gotten down far enough to acquire any sort of armor, weapons, spells, abilities, recipes to make stronger armor, other than, like I said, about the first 20 or so floors, which gave me access to a lot of different shit, going only 20 floors down, particularly with the Enchiridions, the stuff that allows you to make stronger weapons. But, like, if there's something game destroying down there, at, like, say, floor 30 or 40 or 50 or at 100, I don't know, because I didn't go down there, The big reason is because that place is fucking difficult as shit. It's not like you can't do it. You definitely can do it. Particularly when you hit the level I'm at, which is at 40. But the game does not, you play by the game's rules. The game does not play by the game's rules, if you will. When you start going down farther into the pit, you start running into things that are stronger than you. So, like, it'll be the Palace of the Dead will be whatever level you're at, okay? And it'll balance the game based on that level. But when you hit the level cap of 40, you can't get any stronger than that. You're essentially locked into level 40 until post game, and you start running into characters that are higher than you are, like level 41, level 42, and level 45. And then, as an added great little bonus, you have normal humans, like, the ones we've been fighting the entire game. And then you get sort of like a dark infused version of those characters. So, like, example, one of the base classes is soldier, okay? And you'll get, if you go down there, you'll initially start fighting soldiers, but then they'll start including, like, dark versions of those classes, which I believe are, like, called something like the extent like a it's something like gladiator, or to basically say, okay, so this is the regular version of this enemy, and this is the dark powered up version of this enemy. So like I said, I think they changed the names, in other words, and so you'll run into like instead of a Valkyrie, you might run into like a I don't even know what they're called. I saw one or two of them and was sort of taken aback by the fact that that's not what my character's class is called, but your class is called that. I guess a better example that I came across was there's okay, this is another story. Down there are beast enemies that are non-hostile to you, okay, until you attack them. And one of the ways you can tell that they're going to be non-aggressive is that they are about 10 to 15 levels higher than you are. And they're usually one of those specialty dark classes, like instead of Dark Dragon, you would get Onyx Dragon, you know? Instead of like, trying to think of the other ones, what the other ones are called. Like, we'll just go by their element, like Wing Dragon, or I'm sorry, Air Dragon. It might be like Tempest Dragon, you know? Just to indicate that this is the more powerful dark version of the class. To my knowledge, they're not recruitable. None of these dark classes are recruitable. You can't tame them. You can't turn them into anything. However, the nice part is whether you attack the dark overpowered dragon or not, it'll still like wander around the battlefield, but it seems to come towards you, which is where you usually get fucked up, is you're not paying attention to the fact that the guy's about 10 levels higher than you, and he's just coming over to your side of the field to collect the little loot bags that are dropped by enemies. He's in some cases picks up the green buff cards that are on the field right there next to my Valkyrie and Kashua. But you see them coming to you, much like every other enemy in the game. You expect, okay, they're going to attack me once they get in their range. And I happen to discover that if you don't attack them, and I know this is probably something they may have mentioned in the game that I wasn't paying attention to, or perhaps this is a hidden mechanic, hidden part of the storyline, is, you know, the first time the dragon came to me, to one of my characters, I also ran into a griffin that was like that, and a cockatrice, I believe, that was like that, and they basically came directly next to my character, and I was expecting them to do like some sort of big attack, or, you know, like a dragon breath area of effects attack, and ended up doing nothing. And I thought the game might have glitched on me, you know, like made sort of a stupid choice, because based on where my characters were, the AI decided, okay, no, this is actually the best move, is to not attack. But then after a couple turns, I realized it wasn't attacking me at all. So what's the story, you know? And yeah, I mean, that's basically it. You know, you run into, like I said, tougher enemies. The game starts to become more, or the dungeon starts to become more of like a grind, where, you know, you do have the ability to retreat, which is great. I love the fact that you're allowed to retreat, but permadeath's still there, you know. So if you don't retreat before your guys start to pass out, I mean die, too fucking bad. So like if you're getting to the point where like you're real close to victory, you either need to use the chariot wheel and make sure you do win by rewinding, or you need to retreat out of there, because you're just going to lose characters. You're going to lose a character or two characters or whatever, and then you're not going to be able to get them back until post-game, if at all. That's fine if you're talking about maybe like a generic character you don't really care about or whatever. But when you start talking about like portrait characters, you know, whether it be Sistina or Olivia or Cashua, you know, Donalto, etc., you're probably gonna wanna probably want to keep them alive because they have better statistics than your generic units do. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's better to have title characters than the generics. I can't believe that didn't kill you. I'm mad. I mean, I understand. I'm gonna start doing the Homer thing here. Not like Homer Simpson, but like, you know, when you watch sports and your team is losing and you start getting pissed off at the referees because they keep making bad calls, and you're basically homering for your team. I feel like that right now, is my characters feel like they're doing no damage, and then like here comes, you know, my doppelganger, and he just happens to have enough MP or whatever to just find the most devastating, you know, dagger attack you could possibly think of, you know? Like, oh, look, your character's standing there with 500 HP, which is half their health. Ooh, good thing I happen to have this specific finisher that happened to just critical this one time, and it leaves your character dead. Because if it didn't crit, well, you wouldn't be dead, but it did crit, so you are dead. Very annoying. So you can see we're getting close to whittling everyone down to nothing. How many characters we have left? 2, 3, plus the boss. Maybe 4 plus the boss. Yeah, somewhere in that vicinity. So the reason why you get rid of the doppelgangers, if he has risk management on and there's no doppelgangers around him, he can't divert the damage to another character. So that's why you take out the doppelgangers, in addition to trying to prevent damage being dealt to you, because you've reduced the number of characters on the screen, etc. And then, you know, we keep resurrecting these guys because when we get to part 2, we don't get the benefit of all of your characters reviving and being at full health. No, they get to be at whatever they're at. The only nice part about that is in the first portion, this first half, we're all grouped up into one little tiny area, okay? And we have to make our way out, and the doppelgangers are all spread out around this sigil. And then in part 2, we're going to be spread out about the sigil, but the boss is going to grow, and he's going to be able to move a lot. Well, he's going to move like he's doing now, which is teleporting. And he's a lot more devastating because your characters aren't lumped together. They're actually spread apart. So if he teleports left, and so your characters on the right are like, I don't want to run across the fucking board to get you. But that's what you gotta do. Alright, we are down to 3, it looks like. And he passed out. Great. Great. My favorite part of the story. You know, it's like that story of, you know, Goldilocks and her bears, you know. She's all like, I'll come into the house, I'm breaking in. And the porridges, they're hot, they're cold, they're just right, you know. And then there's the lumpy bed and the firm bed and the just right bed. And then Papa Bear ate the first half and Mama Bear ate the second half. And Baby Bear's portion was just right. Except I'm not really sure there's a version of that story where Goldilocks gets eaten. I have to imagine that would be the moral of the story, is don't wander into a bear's den, regardless of how good or bad or comfortable or uncomfortable their house is. Well, speaking of bears for a second, I don't know where you live in this world, whether you live in America or outside of America, you're listening to me. If you happen to have bears or any other wild predatory type animals in your neighborhood, they are not your friends, first of all. Second of all, in addition to them not being your friends, bears are very dangerous. You might be able to, like, as an adult, you might be able to, like, take a black bear on because you're bigger than it. But for the most part, bears are too big and too strong. And if we're talking about Kodiak bears, they look at humans as a form of sustenance. So, you know, don't, if you see like a white bear up in the Arctic, you're gonna want to stay away from it. All right. This is another annoying thing I have not talked about yet, is he has this ability called, basically I have to use that. Luckily his turn came up right next. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to do any resurrection, either by a power, such as revive, or by an item, such as a revive stone. So yeah. Hello, casual. You have options here, including but not limited to this one. 500 damage is pretty sweet. Armageddon happens to be her most powerful attack. However, if you run into characters that are fire-based, she does have one that is a water-based attack that's super good against them. You probably want to use that in case against a fire enemy. And what else? She may or may not have a wind ability with that whip. I don't remember. I wouldn't say it'd be kind of pointless, but I've got a lot of wind characters in my party already that do a pretty bang up job taking care of the wind-based stuff, I guess. Wind attacks. What else? I want you to be dead. We're getting there close. As you can see, we didn't have the reflectability, the ability to reflect damage to another unit. However, it's still a lot of has a lot of damage. I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of damage you gotta do to him. Yeah, we did it. I mean, didn't do it. We'll do it soon. Oh yeah, that'll do it. 2, 4, 6.
Here, fiend.
Fiend.
So arrogant you are.
Can't you just give me the holy sword and I'll break out of hell and we'll release hell on earth? That seems fair, like a fair trade, right?
Be gone! This is the world of men. You have no place here.
That is true.
Is true.
I am no man.
No man. I am a god.
I don't necessarily believe that.
A god.
Even within the
God
pantheon of
so
this particular
You are an ogre.
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 Even with the pantheon of this particular thing. Game, that is. False words speak he. Destroy you him. Our foe, this man fool, is not else. So this is where transformation happens.
Who's there?
Probably the king of the god of the underworld. The hour tribes, hatred, old reborn. Hatred's old reborn. An ogre battle wages you now. Alright, I am going to cut the episode in just a second.
It speaks.
And when we come back, we're going to be doing phase 2, which is full-on demon mode.